USC just landed one of the biggest names in college football and one of the biggest hires in the past 5 years. This is insanity. I got the news right as I was getting off of work, and I came home immediately to record this video. And y'all might get 2 videos today, honestly, because this is such big news when it comes to the college football world. This changes practically everything. We have recruiting coming up, the early signing days coming up. We have the playoffs are coming. Oklahoma just came off one of their biggest losses this year against Oklahoma State, a team that they had usually beaten. I guess that was the theme for this weekend. I was going to do a recap probably in the next coming days of what happened during rivalry weekend, but to keep it short, we have Michigan beating Ohio State, usually doesn't happen, and then you have Oklahoma State beating Oklahoma, which usually doesn't happen. And with all the rumors and everything that was going on, you had LSU potentially getting Oklahoma, who takes a huge L today. I'll get into that in a second. We have Oklahoma taking a huge L, we have Bob Stoops coming from the broadcast booth into the coaching office of Oklahoma and saying, you know what, I'm going to be the bowl game head coach. Like, this is... And it's not going to be a small bowl either. As much as people want to hate on Oklahoma, there's still a 2-loss team. They're going to get a decent bowl game. Not probably a New Year's Six bowl, but they're going to get a decent bowl game. And USC, let's talk about from USC's perspective. A team that had been pretty much mediocre the past couple years and has always had talent, but hasn't excelled in it. And the most recent probably success they've had was Sam Darnold in the Penn State Rose Bowl, one of the best games of college football history. But they're used to going to the Rose Bowl. They're used to going to national championships, and right now they haven't been going to those. It's been about 15 years. As crazy as that feels as a young man to say the 2000s was a long time ago, it is starting to feel like that. And USC needed to swing for the fences on this job. They needed a bigger hire than probably LSU did. And Lincoln Riley technically didn't lie last night. He said he was not taking the LSU job, and he clearly didn't take the Oklahoma job either. He went for USC. And USC, let's talk about all the pros that come with USC in taking this job and kind of look at the perspective of why Lincoln Riley took this job. First thing, big recruiting base. Almost untapped potential when it comes to recruiting. There's not a big California school right now that is feasting on the recruits that just continually produce. And all around that area too. It's not like Washington and Washington State are dominating. It's not like any Pac-12 team is dominating. Really, Oregon, and I think honestly this hire is big enough that you could beat out Oregon. The Pac-12 is wide open. Oregon, yes, they had a really good year. They beat Ohio State, but they are not consistent enough and not always in the national title contention. I mean, they had Justin Herbert and they didn't get to the playoffs. They didn't get this done. The Pac-12 is wide open. And also, I see the Pac-12 as a plus for it being so wide open and it also not being depleted like the Big 12 is and not having to go to the SEC. You could say Lincoln Riley's dodging competition, which I think he is a little bit, but also ease of life. If he goes and dominates the Pac-12 and dominates that side of the West Coast, then he's going to have a job forever. If he goes to LSU and doesn't produce a championship in the first 3 years, he might be on the hot seat. It's just way of life. And also, you get to go live in California. That's a plus. I wouldn't want to live in Baton Rouge. I'm not throwing shade. I'm just saying. It's California, Baton Rouge. Which one you're going to pick? There's so many pluses. You got guys that are going to flip to USC. USC is a hotbed, not only for recruits, but for guys across the country. It's a brand. It's a lifestyle. You get to go live in LA, be a superstar. And the thing that Lincoln Riley does the best is offense. And I think that's going to be the easiest way to win the Pac-12 is you don't really got to worry about defense just like the Big 12. He can go dominate the Pac-12 and have a viable offense and maybe get a defense ready. I think a defense is still going to be a problem that he needs to figure out, but I'm sure he can get any coordinator that he wants. And donors are going to buy into USC. Everyone's going to buy back into USC. Everyone's bought into LSU already. LSU recently won a championship in 2019. They already have money. They got the facilities. They got the recruiting. USC right now, they kind of need their donors to be bought in a little more. They need to get that, not the nostalgia back, but like everyone to buy into this team's going to be back. Unlike Miami, this team is going to be back. And they needed a home run hire. They needed a guy to step in. Clay Helton, I think is a viable head coach. I think he's a solid head coach. But he's not a USC guy. It's hard to explain, but in a big city like LA, when you got the Rams, you got the Chargers, who no one's a fan of. You have all these sports teams. You got the Lakers, you got the Clippers, you got the Dodgers, and USC used to be in that conversation with everyone competing for championships. It's almost like, all right, USC, what are you doing? Like, everyone's focused on them. What is USC going to do? And they hit it out of the park. Lincoln Riley's young. He's an offensive innovator. He develops NFL guys. He develops quarterbacks. And guess what USC is known for? Quarterbacks, blue chip prospects. We had guys decommitting from USC. We had so many. USC's in almost every recruiting conversation. And we'll talk about the recruiting aspect real quick, because, man, you're about to see a lot of flips. And you're about to see a lot of Oklahoma guys. For example, they had a guy named Gabe Dindy. We don't know where he feels, because it was almost 50-50 with him and Texas A&M. He may go to A&M. Right out of the gate, we have a 5-star running back from Oklahoma potentially flipping to USC. A wide receiver, 5-star wide receiver from Oklahoma, flipping to USC. Lincoln Riley is one of the best recruiters in the nation, specifically for skill position players and offensive linemen. He is one of the best in the, probably top 3. Hand to God, I think he's one of the best recruiters in this nation. I don't think that's even disputable. So, what we talked about all the pros. USC, there's going to be pressure, obviously, but it's a big brand, but it's way less pressure than LSU, and you're not going to the SEC where you're facing Alabama, A&M, Arkansas, like Georgia, Florida, like at week in to week out. There's as much as people want to make that as a positive that you face those guys, it could be a negative because it's a cannibalistic conference. Everyone beats up on each other. It's a madhouse. Now let's look at the perspective from LSU, who I think took a huge L. And I'm not hating on LSU, but I don't see a big time hire left out there. I don't see a big name unless a crazy switch happens. Like I don't see like Mel Tucker gets out of his contract, which won't happen. I'm just thinking of a name. But I also don't think LSU needs a big name guy. I think they need someone to come in and be an adult. I've talked about this before. I think they just need a guy to come in and manage the talent that's already there and be a good recruiter. But LSU was really, really convinced that they were getting Lincoln Riley, who would have been a match made in heaven. You could go let a guy deal with the defense, and he could have reinvented their offense. I still think their offense needs a little bit of almost like modern, like almost like how Alabama made that shift, and it feels like LSU hasn't fully made that shift over, other than the 2019 year, but you lose Joe Brady, and it feels kind of like their offense doesn't have an identity right now. And Lincoln Riley would have given them an identity. But LSU, I don't know who they're going to get. I honestly thought Dave Aranda would have been a perfect pick for them, but Baylor's securing their guys. The biggest thing with this coaching carousel right now is I'm noticing a lot of schools are keeping their guys. They're investing in who they got, and they are willing to spend money on it. You have Michigan State, Penn State, Baylor. All these tier 2 programs are making sure that they hold on to these guys because they want to be a tier 1 program. And LSU, as many pros as there is, I think there's a couple cons, and I think Lincoln Riley was debating between the two, and he just said, all right, I have a wide open conference. I have a recruiting bed that's practically untouched because, let's be honest, LSU has a lot more competition when it comes to recruiting versus a USC. USC's kind of around a bunch of programs that don't dominate that area. UCLA is coming back, but are they really back? Like, do we really believe UCLA is going to be a dominant team? USC and Notre Dame are going to battle off a lot. I think it's Lincoln Riley's job is going to be a lot easier when he goes to California. And LSU is a very tough job to be at, and I can't blame Lincoln Riley if he wants his life to be a little bit easier. Next thing though, Oklahoma. We got to look at the Oklahoma perspective because Lincoln Riley just KD'd the entire state of Oklahoma. And by that, I mean just a guy that violated the state of Oklahoma because he said he was not taking that job at LSU, giving the reassurance. And that's why coaches are very careful with their words. That's why I felt so comfortable saying Jimbo Fisher's not leaving for LSU. And I still feel like that because he has been so adamant that he's not taking any job. He hasn't specifically said LSU. He's just been saying, I will not leave Texas A&M. I wouldn't recruit these guys to go face them. While as Lincoln Riley specifically said, I'm not taking the LSU job, and goes and not even 24 hours goes and takes the USC job, leaving Oklahoma in the dust. And I think Bob Stoops could come in and do a fine job. I think Bob Stoops is a fine coach, and I think he may have taken a couple years and he could be a great coach again. But Oklahoma right now, like LSU, there's not a big name sitting out there. Oklahoma's a good job. That's why I'm more surprised that Lincoln Riley left, because I still think Oklahoma's a great job. They're about to go to the SEC, and this is a turning point for this program. You have Caleb Williams, superstar quarterback. I think he's a Heisman winner in the next couple years. You have Rattler, who might transfer. You have so much talent on this roster. It's very clear, and they had a down year this year. It's obvious they had a down year, and right now, as they go into the SEC, you need to get the right coach. SEC football is all about football, and specifically college football, is all about getting the right coach. And Texas, they don't know if they got the right coach. Oklahoma, they don't have a coach right now other than Bob Stoops, who's going to be the bowl game coach. And it's almost going to be like a tryout for him. I don't know the details. This is all very new. I'm sure more details will come out once I get the video out, and this video is going to be fast. I'm going to get this out as soon as possible, but this is insanity. This is wild. Shout out to Lincoln Riley. Shout out to USC. You just hit a home run. You just changed your program with a hire. And Oklahoma and LSU, we'll see what you got in the next coming days. We'll see what you got. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. I love doing this. This is so much fun. Follow my TikTok, follow my Twitter. It's in the description below. I know I'm rubbing my face a bunch, but thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. See y'all soon.